Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Wednesday, the 15th day of October, 2025. I hope you're all safe and healthy today, and I hope that your family is safe and healthy, and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. I'm going to forego for today my usual blessings. But I pray that all of those people I usually bless and curse still be blessed and cursed. But I wanted to share something with you before we go into today's Knicks content, which I always start with blessings. Day before yesterday, I was in the Washington, D.C. area, and I was up there for the primary purpose of seeing my primary physician, which is still who I still keep in Virginia, though I'm in Florida now. The blessing was seeing my two girls and my son up there. I say my son because he married my oldest daughter, and I'm not one of those to say I lost a daughter. I definitely gained a son. So I say two daughters and my son. But I was blessed by them when I went up there, and within a block of their house, I would say less than a mile for sure, was my doctor. So I went and saw him, and I wanted to share what he shared with me. 4 years ago was the last time I saw him. I saw someone down here in Florida last year who I did not like. And before I get started, as we're talking about health, I just wanted to say I'm not a doctor. I don't purport to play a doctor. Please check with your physician for anything you do as far as health. And what I'm sharing with you is my personal experience. Just want to say that for the YouTube people out there watching my videos. I'm not a doctor. Please check with your doctor. And what I'm sharing with you is my personal experience. So one of the things I've always struggled with, I've always, like most of us, especially in certain of our Hebrew community, with my weight. Struggling with my weight, it took me many years to learn things. One of the things I learned, you can't out-exercise a bad diet. My daddy, who I got the exercise habit from, never learned that one. And so I didn't for a long time. But then I realized that diet is actually more important than exercise. Not that you should forsake exercise, but the energy to do the exercise comes from your diet. And so you really do need to have an adequate diet. Now, for me, I've always been a lover of fruit. Problem was not the fruit. It was the other sugars, pies and cookies and things with fruit that ruined my metabolism or whatever else is inside me, so that now I can't even have fruit. Now, when that doctor saw me 4 years ago, I was 218 pounds. I was 5'11". I've shrunk. I'm now 5'10 and a half because I am 64 years old. You do shrink. But I was 5'11", and I weighed 218 pounds. When he weighed me yesterday, I weighed 203 pounds from 4 years ago. But what he was happy about that. And what he didn't know was that over the course of last year, I was 223, because last year in the summer, I made an experiment to try to get back into fruit, and it didn't work out for me too well. Now, again, I want to say there's nothing wrong with fruit unless your body is messed up. And mine, over the course of my 60 years of sugar, processed sugar, heavy carbs, it caused the fruit to hurt me. Okay, I wouldn't say fruit is bad. I still love fruit. I just can't eat it. Okay, because it's right now my system is so messed up. Maybe in the future I'll be able to enjoy it again, but for now I cannot, because when I eat it, it puts weight on me, and the reason it puts weight on me is because my body don't handle it right because of how I've messed up my system. So last year they do PSA counts for prostrate. They always, since I turned 40, every time I see a doctor, there was something, you got to get a prostate exam. And I always say no, my personal thing. Again, you should listen to your doctor. But I said, no, I ain't doing it. You're not digging up in my behind for nothing. So last year, they say your PSA shouldn't be above 4. Mine was 4.68 last year. But over the course of the last 12 months, I've been blessed to overcome, or at least take a big step forward in overcoming sugar and carbs. So I've been really strict on sticking with my carbs, sticking with heavier proteins and healthy fats like butter. And of course, that helped my energy. And then I've been getting into working out more on a longevity. When I was a boy, when I was younger, I wanted to be like Mr. Olympia, just like most of us that were males, right? But then I stopped trying to do that and started focusing on what do I want to be able to do when I'm 80. When I'm 80, I want to be able to do a push-up, at least a set of 40. When I'm 80, I want to at least be able to do a set of 10 pull-ups. When I'm 80, I want to be able to get up off the floor without using my hands. And so all of my workouts are geared now toward longevity, mobility for the long term. And so I've been focusing on that for the last 2 years. And that's also played a big role in my development. When I went into the doctor's office, they wanted me to stand on the scale. I wasn't going to stand on that scale with all my clothes on because then it would give me heavier numbers. I took off my shirt, started to take off my pants, and the girl was yelling, no, mister, don't do that. And so when I took my shirt off, though, the whole office saw, and the doctor saw, and he said, man, you're in great shape, which I kind of knew already because I've been feeling, on another level. So I've been focused on leaving the sugar alone. Part of that was not just leaving the fruit alone, but I like wine, and I like port wine was my favorite. Sweet wines were my favorite, led by port, but I like other sweet wines. I had to give them up. It was kind of tough. That was a battle. But then in leaving the sugar alone, one day I tasted a dry wine and it didn't taste as bad as it used to taste. And I was like, wow, this don't taste bad. In fact, it tastes good. And my wife said, your taste buds are changing because it's not sweet. And so, and in fact, some dry wines actually taste sweet to me now. So my taste buds changed, which I never thought that would happen. So my taste buds change, and now I can enjoy Pinot Noir. I can enjoy Chianti. I can enjoy Zinfandel and the Reds. I can enjoy those things without worrying about sugar, because it doesn't really affect my blood sugar. Anything that's a carb. One time I tried a little bit of plantanos in a restaurant. The next day my blood sugar shot up. So for me, there's certain things I just can't have. Can't have no fries, French fries, no processed carbs, bread. I'll still enjoy me a burger, Five Guys once in a while, but not often. I can't do that, but maybe once a month, have me a regular burger at a Five Guys, and Five Guys is like my favorite burger. So that's my cheat meal, if you want to say. Like I'll have a Five Guys cheeseburger with the regular white bun on it. That's really my cheat meal. And so I have that once in a while. And then at holiday time, both my sons, like whiskey. And so I'll have some whiskey, but I can't just drink whiskey straight. So I'll have that with some apple juice. And that'll be my other cheat meal. That's kind of like cheat meals for me. So overall, though, I guess what I'm saying is I'm able to enjoy life. My PSAs this time were under 4, 3.92. So it went from 4.68 a year ago to 3.92 this year. And again, I've been taking vitamin D3 because I heard that's good for you. So I've been consistently taking that, plus getting rid of the sugar, help that go down. He still wants to monitor me next year. In fact, the doctor told me, he said, you could come and see me every other year if you want. But he said, we make money when you come. He admitted, he said, we make money when you come every year. But because your PSAs are still below 4 now, but they're a little high, 3.9, please come back. And I said, no problem, we'll do that. But I was just happy to see it was down 0.9 points from last year. And then my glucose, I have been trying to work on that. But again, the battle, right, between the sugars and me, and I thought I was doing good at 115. And he said, yes, you're all right, but it's a little high. You're headed toward pre-diabetes, but you're not there yet. He said, when it go over 120, you're in pre-diabetes. So yesterday when I went, it was 92. So it went from 115 a year ago to 92. And so, again, all of that is due, I give praise to my creator, but all of that is also due to the change of lifestyle. Just for me, just the dietary change, and then the change in focus on my workouts from trying to get bigger or trying to get, stronger to just being mobile and being able to perform certain mobility movements and stretching movements. I still do a little training in terms of resistance training, but my resistance training is not anywhere heavy. It's lighter weights. I think 50 pounds is the most I use. I got two 50-pound kettlebells. I might do a farmer's walk with that or some deadlifts with that. But it's chin-ups, push-ups, things like that, along with the mobility training and the animal flow movements. I'm really into that now, the animal flow movements also to help with mobility. So I'm just giving you this health update to let you see how I personally went from going the wrong direction and after many decades of struggling with weight to now going in the right direction. And now I finally have a diet and exercise combination that is sustainable. And that's another thing. Y'all hear me talking on the Knicks channel about long-term sustainable winning. Long-term sustainable health is important. Getting on a diet to lose weight quick is cool, but it's not sustainable because you can't continually be on that diet without falling, okay? A normal person. So you want a diet that you can continue to sustain for the rest of your life and an exercise program that you can do for the next 20 years without breaking it. And for me, the protein focus with the fat focus, good fat focus, and the longevity exercise focus is blessing me right now. If you're, like I'm saying, I'm 64, and so when you're getting past 50 something, you want to change the priorities. Your body does change. There's things you can't do, can't consume that you might have been able to consume when you're 30. You can't do it when you're 50. And those of you that are in your 30s and younger than 50, believe me, 50 comes quick. It comes real quick. And you might be flowing in your old way, and all of a sudden, you find yourself in worse health because all of a sudden at 50, it happens just like that. And you just didn't realize the flow was going like that, and you was doing the same things you used to do. It ain't gonna work, okay? Like Josh Hart. Josh Hart, they were joking one time and said, well, how you get all that energy? And Jalen Brunson said, Mike and Ike's, right? And he said, yeah, Mike and Ike's, you want some? And he threw some at the reporter. He could eat like that now, 28, 29, and a pro athlete, a world-class, any NBA player is a world-class athlete in my opinion, so he could do that now. But if he retires or when he retires, he's going to have to change that. He's a black man, and we are more susceptible to sugar-related diseases than other people. So he's going to have to change that. He's going to have to cut back on that sugar eventually. But right now, he could do it because he's still a young man. He's at pro level. He's a pro athlete, a world-class athlete. That stuff's going to burn off. But again, even though he's a world-class athlete, when he get past 30, his metabolism starts to change too. So it happens to everybody. You got to really be careful. So I just wanted to give you all that as we start off today, a health report that I got and show how I've been blessed over the last 12 months and more, actually. This goes back years of experimentation, and I've tried all the different diets, carnivore, frugivore, I've done that, vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, I've done all that, okay? And for me, all of that experience boils down to certain things that I was able to put into a program for myself and work for my body. Again, ask your doctor. My doctor asked me, he said, what are you doing? I didn't tell him keto or carnivore. I just said, I'm keeping away from sugar. That's all I said. And he said, oh, great, keep doing that. Because I don't want to get labels on it and then they start criticizing the labels. So I just said, which is true, I'm staying away from sugar. And he said, oh, great, keep doing that. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It's working. So that I wanted to let y'all know. Okay, now back to our regularly scheduled Knicks program. Look, I think because there's so much information out there flowing, a lot of it false, that a lot of people get confused. It's not your fault. There's just a lot of false information in the air. One of them is with respect. I have, and I'm going to highlight this. My man, his name is Who is Sheffy 3011. He said, because we were talking about how many players you can have on the team, and I said 12, and then somebody said, no, you can actually have 15. And then he said, my guy, it's 15 players. You can only dress 12 for a game, though. So I said, okay, when people come at me like that, now I have to go into research mode. And so I want to thank Who is Sheffy 3011 because you caused me to go into research mode. So I looked it up officially from the NBA. It says an NBA team is allowed a maximum of 15 players on its standard roster plus 3 additional players on two-way contracts for a total of 18. So they're allowed a total of 18. Now in the Knicks case, they won't have 18. And the reason why is because of the second apron, right? So they're going to keep 14. And that's going to keep them below the second apron. And if they wanted extra, that's when they would have to trade 2 players to have enough space to have another one without going over the second apron later on in the year. So that's the total. So you can now, as far as dressing for a game, they have a minimum of 8 players dressed for a game, but the maximum that can be dressed for a game is 13. So if you got 14 players and only 13 could be dressed for a game, that's when you're going to have somebody that's going to be inactive for that game, okay? Because you can make a guy inactive even though he's on the roster. So you're going to have 14 players plus 3 two-ways, and then for any given game, somebody's going to be inactive. Now, in the case of what we're dealing with now, it's going to be a youngin' or somebody at the end of the bench, right? Somebody at the end of the rotation. Could be Diawara, somebody that's going to get some inactive days, right? Because you can't dress but 13 players, right? So if everybody's healthy, you're going to have Shamet. You're probably going to have Brogdon. That's right there between what we're talking about right there. We're talking about 11, and then you get 2 more, that you're going to dress. You got Diawara, you still got Kolek on the team, you still got Dadiet. Who knows? It could be Garrett Mathews. We'll see. But that's what we're dealing with. Then this guy, Mr. Rich, RX4IU, he's always coming up with some falsehood. This is what I mean when you listen to too many people. But he says like this: I told you Dadiet is not going anywhere. Kolek is expendable and Brogdon is washed up. So he makes some definitive statement. Dadiet is staying. That's one definitive statement. The other one is Kolek is expendable. That's the second definitive statement. And the third is Brogdon is washed up. So he's making the statement that they're not going to sign Brogdon because he's washed up. Okay, that's his opinion. Now, I told him, my response was, yeah, you told me, and you were wrong, bruh. And as we will see by the weekend, and that's what I'm saying here. We're going to see by the weekend. Because by the weekend, they would have cut who they need to cut and sign who they need to sign. You can't have non-guaranteed contracts after really the 5 o'clock on Saturday. So you got to have all guaranteed contracts on your roster. Now we're going to see. I'm saying they're going to trade Dadiet, and they're going to sign Brogdon. They're going to sign Shamet. And the only question mark is if they're going to sign Garrett Mathews. That's the only question mark, okay? Now, Mathews was quoted yesterday as saying he was told there would be a fair competition for contract positions on the Knicks, and he expected that. Now, Garrett Mathews has not been getting as many minutes as Brogdon has. Brogdon has been getting more minutes on a consistent basis than Garrett Mathews has. But Mathews has played well on both sides of the ball in the limited minutes he has gotten. And of course, he has shown he can shoot the ball. He has not shot the ball well consistently, but then again, he's not getting in the game consistently. NBA players need consistency. All players do, really. But in the league where you're dealing with people that are playing specific roles, they need consistently in both minutes and role. That's what they need. And this is where Tibbs came up short. He would call a guy with 30 seconds, like Big Deuce. For the first 2 years of Deuce's career, he would get 30 seconds or a minute and a half for a special situation. And then he'd have to shoot, or he wasn't ready to shoot, and then he'd miss. And they have people say, he can't shoot. Well, they need consistent minutes. If they know they're going to get 10 minutes every night and they know when they're coming in, if they could shoot, they're going to show you they could shoot because they're getting that consistent time that they can count on. Garrett Mathews is that type of player. He needs a consistent allotment. He needs to know when he's coming in, when his time is, and he'll be ready for that time, no matter what it is. If it's 8 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, if it's 10 minutes, he'll know. He's a pro. And so he has, the reason the reason he hasn't shot the ball consistently well is because he hasn't gotten consistent minutes of when he's going to get in the game. But he will, if he's on the Knicks team, he will shoot the ball consistently well. So I don't know if they're going to keep Garrett Mathews or not. I would like them to, but in order to keep Garrett Mathews, as I've mentioned many times, Kolek needs to go. It comes down to this. Dadiet is being traded. That opens Shamet and Brogdon up. If they're going to keep Mathews, the choice is Mathews or Kolek. And they're going to make that choice. Today is Wednesday. They're going to make that choice by Friday. Okay? Matthews or Kolek. They're going to make that choice. I'm expecting a trade for Dadiet to happen within the next 48 hours. And then you're also going to find shortly after that Matthews or Kolek. If you see Kolek on this team on Saturday, Matthews is going to be on another team. If you see Kolek get traded, Matthews is going to be on this team. That's the only question at this point. So we're going to find out in the next 48 to 72 hours. Okay? And so we'll see if Mr. Rich is right or if he's wrong again. Anyway, y'all please enjoy your Wednesday. Be safe. Be healthy. So